Hey, what's up guys? Kool-Aid here, and today we're going to talk about the NS-11C. This gun is usable by the Light Assault and the Engineer classes, and is usable by all three factions. So if you purchase this on one character, it should carry over to all your other characters. That is going to be one of the nicer things about this gun. So first of all, we're going to go over some stats, and then I'll give kind of my opinion afterwards on whether or not you should actually purchase this weapon. So the NS-11C is going to do 143 maximum damage out to 10 meters. It's going to reach its minimum damage at 65 meters, which is going to be 112. Combine that with a somewhat modest rate of fire at 652 rounds per minute. This gun does not really have that great of time to kill compared to a lot of the other carbines out there. But what this gun makes or lacks in time to kill, it actually makes up for in a lot of other different categories. First of all, being the reload times. This gun actually has a 2-second short reload and a 2-second long reload. For those of you who don't really understand why guns have a longer reload once you fully empty the magazine, in real life and in this game, typically, if you completely run a magazine dry and you have to put a fresh magazine in, you have to chamber the first round. Now if you take out a magazine before the gun's not completely empty, there's usually one round still chambered in there. So that is why the long reload typically actually takes longer than the short reload. But if you watch the reload animation on this weapon, you don't actually chamber around when it's empty. It just magically chambers around by itself. Somewhat ridiculous, but at the same time, it's one of the better features of this gun that you don't actually have a longer reload. Another nice feature about this weapon is that it is going to have a 35 round magazine. For NC and VS guys, that's going to be, more than what we're used to. For you TR guys, that's really nothing special. Keep in mind that it is only going to have 175 rounds in the ammo pool, which is actually lower than most of the other carbines. So even though you do have the bigger mags, you do have less of an ammo pool. Also, this gun is going to have a .22 vertical recoil with a minimum and maximum horizontal recoil of .2, and it's going to slightly pull to the left, but it is very marginal. It's also going to have a ×3 first shot multiplier, so this gun's kind of meant to kind of just hold down the trigger. You got the somewhat bigger mags, and it's very, very controllable. That's one of the nicest features about this gun. Same as its, assault rifle counterpart. Very, very controllable weapons. To go with that low recoil, this gun is also going to be very accurate. It's going to have an ADS cone of fire of .1 while standing still, .25 while moving, and a 3 while jumping. It's going to have good hip fire as well at 1.5 while standing still, 2 while moving, 5 while sprinting, and 7 while jumping. And both of those are going to be near the top of the carbine category. The last stat I wanted to mention was bullet velocity, and I don't usually make too big of a fuss about bullet velocity when it comes to carbines because they're typically medium to short range weapons, but the NS-11C is going to have a very slow bullet velocity at 450. That's going to put it towards the bottom of the carbine category. Now, the real reason I want to mention this, however, is because the NS-11A actually has a much higher bullet velocity at 640. So if you are somebody who uses the NS-11A a lot on your medic and plans on using the NS-11C on your engineer or light assault class, you are going to notice a significant difference. And if you combine that with the lower damage drop-off of the NS-11C, you are going to have a lot more problems killing people at that medium to longer range with the carbine version of the gun. Makes sense, it is a carbine, you shouldn't have the longer range, but the fact is it's just not as good as gun as the NS-11A. In fact, the only advantage that I can see of the NS-11C over the NS-11A is that shorter long reload time, and for all we know, that could be a glitch because it really makes no logical reason that you would actually not chamber around after putting in a fresh magazine. As far as attachments go for the NS-11C, you have a lot of options. For the ammo, you actually can choose between high velocity and soft point. For all the clips you're watching, I am using soft point ammunition, as I like to use My carbines is more of close quarters weapons. Now these guns, I actually might recommend using high velocity in these. I think you could go either way depending on your playstyle, but we just mentioned that slower bullet velocity, so high velocity ammunition might be a really viable option for this weapon. As far as the barrel attachments, I actually bought all three of these, and I just wanted to play around with them a little bit because I don't typically use a flash suppressor on any weapons, but I actually really liked it on this gun. And a lot of the clips you're going to see, I am using a flash suppressor on the NS-11C. The reason I actually really liked it had nothing to do with the enemy seeing me, but had a lot more with me actually not being blinded by the flash of this gun. I've kind of been looking at the flash suppressor all wrong this entire time, and I didn't really notice the reduced accuracy while firing full auto. This gun's so accurate to begin with that it didn't really make that big of a deal. But any of the options here I think are good. You know, if you want to be more stealthy, suppressor's always a good option. Just remember that we already have the very slow bullet velocity of this weapon. So if you're using the suppressor, you might not want to use soft point ammunition, but that's kind of up to you again, your play style. The compensator, if you really just want to make this gun a absolute laser and reduce all recoil, that's probably the way to go. As far as the rail, I went with the laser sight. You're going to see that in every clip in this video. That's just my play style. If I can hip fire, I will. Now, if you want to go with the grip, that's not a bad option either. Again, if you just want to turn this into an absolute laser, you can throw the grip, and the compensator in this gun will have basically no recoil at all. But, you know, a lot of that just has to do with play style. This gun is very well balanced. You can do kind of whatever you want with this gun, and I think that's pretty much the whole point of this weapon. And you know, its counterpart, its assault rifle counterpart, the NS-11A. So the big question is, should you or shouldn't you buy this gun? Well, I can't fully recommend it. It really depends on your playstyle. In close quarters, this gun is going to get dominated by shotguns and high rate of fire bullet hose carbines. This gun really starts to shine right around medium range, but it's still not going to be very good at long range due to that slower bullet velocity and that damage drop off. So if you do find yourself playing in that sort of medium range, want a really accurate gun with a little bit of recoil, not much recoil to speak of at all, this might be a really good option. Not to mention it sounds really cool. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have. If you enjoyed this, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I will talk to y'all later.